Okay, let's watch. So this is a bit fruity. This is Matt Bernstein's podcast. And he has on Olay and Kat Tenbarge, all friends of the show. All friends and friends of the show.
You have amazing role models like our handsome, dashing president. Handsome, dashing president.
You know, I feel like her heart's not in it.
So Nicki Minaj, as I'm sure you've seen, joined Erica Kirk on stage at Turning Point USA's America Fest, which is basically the huge conference that Turning Point does every year since 2021 to make content that will indoctrinate American youth into conservatism. And I wanted to play one clip that I selected from their discussion.
If as Black women, we felt that we were not being represented and not being admired for our beauty, if we felt like that as Black women, why would we want to do that to other women? Why would we now need to make other people downplay their beauty so that we can feel, no, that's not how it works. I don't need someone with blonde hair and blue eyes to downplay their beauty because I know my beauty.
Yes. Famously in Western societies, in American culture, blonde-haired and blue-eyed women are the most oppressed women. Their blonde-haired and blue-eyed nature has been rejected, is not considered to be any standard of beauty. Certainly, famously so oppressed. Whereas Black women, on the other hand, I mean, come on. Black women have it too good.
Understand? It doesn't bother me that a woman feels and says that she's beautiful. Why shouldn't she feel that? Why have we gotten to a point where certain colors or certain kinds of people have to be afraid of loving themselves and loving the way they look?
Your thoughts?
It is a big year for Nicki Minaj haters.
It sure is. I'll be right back.
I never believed that I could get such a, you see, look at her.
Oh, it's dark. The fact that the crowd was like gassing her up so much, I'm sure that felt good for her because like she hasn't been in a situation for a while where she has like this many people being like, yes, as she's saying something so dumb.
It's sad because something is obviously, I don't know what. I see everybody on the internet is like, oh, our house is about to get foreclosed. She must be looking for a pardon for her husband. I don't know. I don't know what the state of Nicki Minaj affairs are, although I do know it's looking financially bleak. They are looking to foreclose that house. So
yeah, we'll get into that.
Obviously something is going on because it's just clear propaganda. I went and watched the entire thing and you can see that Nicki Minaj she not only has no fucking idea what she's talking about. They were like, tell us about your relationship with God. She was like, but she would like pause and Erica Kirk would try to like pick up the slack, like use that opportunity. She'd say some bullshit about how much she loves Nicki to try to give her a second to like come up with a talking point. But every question was designed like Nicki sits and goes, oh, what do you want to say to young women? And Nicki was like, and then she pulls out, Black women, stop hating on white women. That's what she comes up with. The most oppressed group in America right now are blonde hair, blue-eyed white women who are being made to feel like they don't look good, like they can't be beautiful. It's such explicit propaganda. It's clear like they had shit in whatever contract she signed, like whatever amount of money she took for this thing, they were clear that you need to hit certain points because she went out her way to say, I have been all over the world. I am a superstar, but nothing has ever felt important like what I'm doing here.
I've performed for huge crowds all around the world. And no matter how many songs I do on that stage, it didn't mean as much as this.
How do her fans feel about that? The Barbs who have held on? Barbs, how does that make you feel? It's a therapist moment here. And how does that make you feel? That Nicki Minaj basically said, fuck y'all, you don't compare to the Toilet Paper USA crowd. Those of you who have given me your money, who have given me your time, your attention, your devotion. See ya. Sorry, you're not MAGA.
Because this is a direct link for
Barbs who went to her concerts watching this, like, wait a second.
People This is a direct link between young people and God.
This is the thing. I believe in Nicki. I believe several things. I believe Nicki is a jackass. I do believe that Nicki has stupid views that go to the right. But I don't believe that Nicki Minaj believes what the fuck she's talking about.
No. The fact that the right is eating it up just speaks to how little you have to say and do to impress them.
Well, right.
Because, like, to your point, like, she's not even really making any coherent sense. It's just like they hear the buzzwords of, like, you can be blonde, you can be a man. Like, and people are like, we love this.
It's JD Vance's whole thing.
And the other thing, too, is what Nicki likes is that they're all applauding her. That any stupid fucking word that comes out of her mouth, even when she calls JD Vance an assassin, that they are like, yeah, woo! She doesn't have to worry about, oh, God forbid, people calling her out on her problematic behavior. So I agree with Ole. I don't think Nicki Minaj actually believes these words that are coming out of her mouth. I think she's doing what all these grifters do, and she's saying what these people want to hear.
Should even be able to do something as beautiful as get married. You don't feel foolish or crazy. Nicki, how do you get off of a tour where you were on stage performing to a bunch of adult homosexual men who wear pink clothes and call themselves barbs? Get off of that stage. Now you're at an event started by a man who opposes gay marriage, who doesn't believe that those same homosexuals that you just made millions of dollars from should even be able to do something as beautiful as get married. You don't feel foolish or crazy or embarrassed? Of course you don't, because you're that same type of black woman who'll say, oh, I don't care. You know, I don't care about gay people. You know, I respect them, but I don't want my son to be gay. I don't want you around my son, influencing my son. Keep that shit out of cartoons. Keep that shit. You're that type of black person. How are you aligning yourself with people who don't even want half of your fans to exist freely? Is it that important to you? I don't know if you're doing this because you're trying to get your brother pardoned or because you're trying to get your husband off of that essay offenders list because that Megan's Law line hits you so hard. I don't know if that's why you're doing it, but baby, it ain't worth it. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna work. It's not worth it. You're ruining your legacy. You're showing your fans you don't give a fuck about them, and you're just looking foolish. Bigging up Trump, who wants to end birthright citizenship when you're an immigrant. Girl, Trump does not care about you. He is busy trying to screw up his name from the Epstein files. Please go.
Please go fuck yourself, dude. And it's like Nicki, one of her personas is Black Barbie, right? When Pink Friday came out, and like that's the Barbs. Do you think MAGA is all about the idea of a Black Barbie, or do you not think that that's something that they spend all of their time railing against? Barbies black now? I don't think so. This is woke culture. My Barbie is white as untoasted toast, as sliced bread. Yeah, what is this, DEI Barbie? It's absurd. It's fucking absurd. It's absurd.
At this conference, he said, we don't want to apologize for being white anymore.
In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore.
Oh, thank God. Thank God when people like Caroline Kwan are out here spewing anti-white hatred. Somebody lock her up. Can we get the lock her up chants going again?
There's a large cohort of white people in the United States currently led by JD Vance and Erica Kirk, who believe that the biggest injustice of our time is that some leftists on Twitter didn't like Sydney Sweeney's jeans commercial. And Nicki Minaj has been told exactly what these people want to hear. And she can't even fully recite that messaging, but they don't care. They just need like the vague contours of it. And one thing that we talk about over and over again on this podcast is how easy it is to charm these people, especially when you're that famous, because they are so hungry for validation from mainstream celebrities.
It was literally if I come out, I'm like, okay, I'm doing my grift now. I'd be like, look, once upon a time, I said all these things about white people because the woke left forced me to, because I was brainwashed, because I was, sitting here being like, oh, how do we further oppress people in this country? aka white people. And thank God for handsome, gorgeous Chad of a man, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, for freeing me from my woke cage. I am now free because here in America, Donald Trump has brought freedom back. And you don't have to be afraid anymore to be white. And that's a beautiful thing. The United States of America. We are destroying the woke mind virus.
Interesting, because even when people are as unprincipled as Nicki Minaj is to do all of this, the only time she went on some little like rant where you could tell you her real opinions was when it was in relation to herself and talking about her perceived bullies and enemies. And any time she spoke about it, she accidentally caught herself realizing like, oh shit, I'm saying too much about how I'm mistreated as a woman. But then every time she said it, she realized like, oh shit, let me take that back. God. And ultimately, I'm here to say we need Trump in office. It's so sad because all it tells me is how down bad she is in whatever situation she's in. Because the reality is they could clap up there because you validate them all you want. Like that's what it means to be a token. That's what it means to be there to serve a purpose. It does not mean, it absolutely does not mean that they're invested in you or give a fuck about you in any way. They're not going to stream your music. And I know she must know that. So it tells you that whatever it is that she's getting, she needs so badly in whatever current situation she's in. And that it's scary to think.
It really strikes me as like the rock bottom moment of a grift where like a huge part of the appeal is that she is kind of presenting like she's switching sides. And I think that that is a huge part of what the right loves about having Nicki Minaj on their side, in air quotes, is like they love the idea that a huge mainstream celebrity who at one point was associated with being more liberal is now all of a sudden being like, oh, actually, I love Trump.
Yes, they are so desperate for major celebrities, for people who achieve mainstream success, to be on their side, especially someone who once upon a time had liberal politics, even though Nicki has said questionable things throughout the year. Like when she rapped about how she was supporting Mitt Romney. She what did she say? She was like, I'm a Republican voting for Mitt Romney. You lazy bitches are fucking up the economy. It wasn't even clever. She just said, I'm a Republican voting for Mitt Romney. And then Barack Obama was like, no, you're not. I don't believe that. And then she was like, thank you for understanding my creative humor. Girl, what?
That idea of we pulled someone from the mainstream, and particularly in these spaces with like Erica Kirk, Turning Point USA, they want to create the illusion that people on the left have like gotten fed up with like how bad the left is, how bad identity politics is.
Yes, but they want to prove that they control culture. That's what it is. They're like, see, culture's on our side. See, these celebrities, they're with us. It's no more woke liberal Hollywood.
It's not even true. So it's like the appeal here is so cheap. And I'm sure people like JD Vance understand that. People in the audience probably are more easily fooled by this illusion that's happening in front of them.
Hello, and welcome back to A Bit Fruity. So an analysis of Nicki Minaj's descent into becoming American fascism's newest celebrity mascot is probably the most requested episode I've embarked on up to this point. It's also an episode that I was initially not going to do, because the magnitude of Nicki's celebrity is just so enormous and profound. I thought there was no way I could do this episode without leaving stuff out. And I still think that's true, but I also think that that's okay. Because you don't need to know everything Nicki Minaj has ever said or posted in the last 20 years to draw a solid map of what I think happened here. And I also think that much like Donald Trump and like Jeffree Star, who we've covered at length on this podcast and who Nicki recorded a song with, Nicki has inundated the public with so much bad behavior for so long that people, especially her fans, learn to never expect better from her. You overwhelm people with this sense that you're not a good person, but you shouldn't be expected to be one either, which is a great way of making sure people never hold you accountable for any of your specific misdeeds. And so I want to resist that trap today, and I think we can do it. Like the rest of us, Nicki's...
Caroline came on Matt's podcast. I already did a Patreon episode with him. But we've been trying to find time to record an episode that I had pitched to him about the failed theater kid to alt-right pipeline.
Personal, professional, and political timelines exist alongside each other, and I think by weaving together elements from each of those timelines, we can understand how she went from female rap superstar with millions
Matt and
of
I are going to record it.
fans
Why we left the left?
Whatever she's doing on stage with fucking Erica Kirk. And to do that,
also, did you guys see this photo? Hold on.
Q fans to whatever.
This photo, one of her fans AI'd it, edited the shit out of it, and we're trying to pass it off as the actual thing. And then Nicki posted it herself.
He's doing on stage with fucking Erica Kirk. And to do that, we are a trio today that I've wanted to get together for quite a long time. Welcome to the show, Kat Tenbarge of Spitfire News and Ole Olurin, who is a lawyer who does cultural commentary as Olurinati on YouTube. And she is the woman who famously took down Eric Adams on The Breakfast Club. Fuck Eric Adams and good riddance to him. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Hey, you need to make the leftist influencer turn
I want to know,
theater
broad
kid.
strokes, how are each of you feeling about this topic? Because I know we all come into this with baggage.
I think like a lot of people, there was a time in my life where I loved Nicki Minaj. Like I was a really big fan. I remember in high school and in early college, like it was a point of pride that I had memorized and could do the entire Monsterverse.
Rite of passage.
In high school, when I would like, dance on the sidelines of basketball games, like the Nicki Minaj songs were always my favorite. And I really loved her for a long time. And then as the years went by, things started to really pile up where I was like, this is terrible. The fandom is terrible. The barbs are awful. The like sort of ability to put that aside and still enjoy the music started to stretch thinner and thinner and thinner. And then it, like, I think, again, many people in the last few years, it just completely snapped.
So in 2025, on this current day, I am a certified Nicki Minaj hater, and I have been for quite some time. But it's important to note that I did not start out that way, and I don't think anybody starts out that way. Like people like to present it as though the barbs, contrary to what they like you lead you to believe, that people are just against Nicki Minaj. There's nobody that likes rap in the slightest that doesn't hate women that was not a Nicki Minaj fan out the gate. I loved Nicki Minaj in the beginning in high school. I remember there was a time where you barely used to see Nicki Minaj. Like you were itching to see what like a video actually show her in it. I loved Nicki. The problem with Nicki is squarely this. Every injustice or unfair or systemic like reality of what Nicki Minaj has had to go through in her career that would have made you champion her in the beginning, she is not against any of that. And she hates when she doesn't see other women who come up have to experience it. Like I think Nicki Minaj comes from an era in hip hop when the women were selected by a male conglomerate of some kind. You're like, she's the first lady of Young Money. You have, Olivia with G Unit. You have Remy Ma with Terror Squad. You have Rah Digga. You have, you know what I mean? They're picked by these collectives and they're only allowed to really be one. They're pitted against each other. And so Nicki Minaj kind of comes around at this time. Like she emerges as kind of like the queen. There's somebody that you see dominating like hip hop and rap in a way that women were not previously. It felt like there was a ceiling on what women could what heights they could commercially get to. And so you supported her. She was dope artistically. She's a beautiful gal. And so when you would see like her initial like feuds with like Lil' Kim, when Lil' Kim was saying all these things about her, like telling you that her attitude is this, and she is not somebody who pays homage and all this, everybody was inclined to be on Nicki Minaj's side. And I think what happens is as time goes on, you live to see her be everything that you defended her against, because Cardi B is the beginning of Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, and Nicki also had this theatricality to her. And interestingly, she and Gaga kind of were coming up around the same time, and they're in different genres, but they both had that kind of character quality, the theatricality, and Nicki's, Barbie persona. She came in with these accents and cadences, and it was it was new. It was something that we just hadn't really seen. And at one point it felt like she could rap about anything and make it interesting. And then
in her ass in a way that is just indisputable. And I think what it is that Cardi represents the opening of floodgates for women in rap. Ever since Cardi B, there are tons of women rappers. You like so many you can pick from. And Nicki hates that. You did a song with Cardi, you did a song with Meg. You see she did a song with Ice Spice, and then 2 seconds later, she's talking shit on these people. Because you can never kiss Nicki Minaj's ass enough. You can find interviews and clips, Lotto and all these people talking about how much inspiration they found in Nicki Minaj, how much they love Nicki Minaj. It's never enough when somebody wants to be the only one in the room. And it's that clear from how she's come at every single fucking woman to come out. It's hard to feel, no, not hard to. I don't feel sorry for somebody who is willing to be a pillar of the same institutions that they felt like were unfair to them because they wanted to be only them. So that, she was already an unprincipled, like, bearer of misogyny on women and hip hop. And then you add that, but now you want to be a fascist propagandist, bitch?
Yeah, see, it always felt like Nicki wasn't actually against those barriers that that prevented Black women from achieving success, from being a part of the music industry. It just felt like it's always what she perceives to be she's the sole victim of, that she doesn't care about systemic issues. She just cares about what she thinks is affecting her. And she's not in it to like actually make the industry better for women and for Black women specifically.
We get into a little Nicki Minaj early life. We love chronology on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
She
already heard that the podcast has started and she's coming.
Yeah.
The Barbs have intercepted the feed and they're on their way.
It's the Barb siege of a bit fruity.
Literally. Everyone change your phone number now because they're all going to be leaked.
We're going to get into early life, but the only other thing I want to say about this is that, like I said up top, this isn't going to be like a documentary episode. There's just too much. So I'm going to talk about her early life and early career rather swiftly. We're going to identify the parts of it that I think are relevant in evaluating what happened to her today. So Nicki was born in Port of Spain, the capital of Trinidad, which is an island in the Caribbean. Both of her parents were gospel singers. Her dad was abusive and addicted to alcohol and crack cocaine, and allegedly committed arson on their house when Nicki was 5. Nicki spent most of her earliest years living in poverty in her grandmother's house in Trinidad with her 11 cousins. Also random, not fun fact, but I guess just like fact, her dad was killed in a hit and run in Long Island in 2021. Really dark stuff.
There are 9.
Was one of those cousins the one whose friend had swollen balls?
100 million things
because of the vax
back and about, and we should be kicking her back in, including like the hypocrisy of being an immigrant actively aligning herself with a fascist administration and xenophobic. But what we should not be doing is leaning into xenophobia. And I see a lot of people that have always seen this gal as the queen of rap from Queens, New York, going out of their way to talk about her like an alien. And I think we should relax on all that. I say that as a Caribbean immigrant. Like, don't take it out on Trinidad. It's Nicki.
Nicki has talked about growing up in a home where there was domestic violence. Like, she has talked about a lot of these details publicly and sort of corroborated them. But when she gets into feuds with other people, specifically Cardi B, a few years ago, Cardi posted this like long...
Yeah, Nicki Minaj does not represent all Trinidadian immigrants.
On Twitter, where she makes like further sort of allegations about the beginning of Nicki's life. I'm just going to read part of this. She said, "You said out your own mouth that the little girl in you hasn't forgiven your mother yet, and that's because your mom used to stay silent when your dad used to touch on you every time he did that crack pipe. I know you experienced a lot of trauma and abuse, but drugs is not going to help you. You need to go to therapy now." And then she like carries this into more allegations about the present day. The more that I have learned about Nicki's early life, I always like kind of suspected, just based on the people who she aligns herself with and like what we've seen of her over the years, that she is someone who is part of like a cycle of abuse that has not been broken. You see the fact that she is like the ultimate cannot break the cycle, the ultimate like she is continuing this cycle. She's pulling up the ladder behind her professionally when it comes to other women in the field. She's like aligning herself with men in the industry who also perpetuate abusive behavior. And it's like that clearly stems from something in her past, from like a lot of like trauma. It's an explanation. It's never an excuse or a justification, but you can kind of see how from like this dark sort of beginning and these darker life circumstances, like how she evolves into the person who she is today.
Around the time that her dad committed arson on their own house, Nicki's mom had gotten a green card to come live in America, in New York City, in South Jamaica, Queens.
Yeah, and her marrying an abuser and protecting and supporting her brother, who is a convicted child rapist.
And shortly after, Nicki and her older brother, Jelani, came to live with her. So Nicki ended up growing up in Queens. She attended LaGuardia High School for Performing Arts in New York City, which is the setting of the movie Fame. Fame. I'm gonna live forever. LaGuardia High School is famously extremely hard to get into. And I think especially before like the advent of TikTok, where you could just get discovered for your talent online, it was like the birthplace of like every modern entertainer. If you want to see something crazy, go to the LaGuardia High School notable alumni Wikipedia page. It's wild. Nicki also worked at Red Lobster, where she was famously fired for yelling at a customer who didn't tip and stole her pen. She chased down the customer to their car and banged on the window to return her pen, which I defend her for. I think that's like a completely valid thing to do. And I disagree with her firing from Red Lobster. In the mid-2000s, Nicki rapped locally with
I
roots
don't
in
blame
New
her
York.
for that
She
one.
was posting songs on MySpace, trying to get discovered like everyone else in the mid-2000s on MySpace. She released a series of mixtapes in 2007 and 2008, which caught the attention of Lil
Rare
Wayne,
Nicki W.
who signed her to his then burgeoning record label, Young Money. She starts to make it. Lil Wayne features her on his music and connects her with other big artists, including Mariah Carey, Jay-Z, Robin Thicke.
Also, I think relevant in her origin story is obviously like Lil Wayne is instrumental to her career with YMCMB and all of that, but there was a time where Gucci Mane and Walker and that kind of collective like had a role in their career too. And Gucci famously, when Gucci used to act a fool on Twitter back in the day, and he went on this long like Twitter fucking tirade, like accusing her like sleeping her way through the industry and sleeping with him and sleeping with this one and sleeping with the next one. And it was just something that like Nicki denied and everybody like defended her against. Like this is toxic, horrible misogyny and like the way that, you know, you're slut shaming. Only for Nicki to turn around in 10 plus years and do the same things to Megan Thee Stallion. Every part of Nicki Minaj's coked out diss track. I said it. Yeah, that's what it was. Like all of that was nothing more but the nastiest rendition of the things that was done to Nicki Minaj, and that's what she was doing to Meg Thee Stallion. Nicki Minaj is a hard person to feel any compassion for, because there's nothing you could point to that, no matter how horrible it is that she's experienced, that you have not seen her make a mockery of to other people.
October 2010, Nicki is famously featured on Kanye.
And in some ways, worse. In some ways, like what? Oh, God, I mean, Nicki's many tirades. Her mocking Meg's dead mom, like that's evil shit. And the Barbs being like, yeah, we're gonna piss on her grave. We have so lost the plot.
Kanye West's Monster, which everybody loved it. It was an iconic verse, and nobody loved it more than Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, which we're going to circle back on that much later in this outline.
Wickle Bridges, thank you, Tier 1.
November 2010, Nicki releases her debut album, Pink Friday, which had the largest sales week for a female rap album in the 21st century. It was off to the races for Nicki from there.
I remember when Pink Friday came out, Entertainment Weekly did this like big spread where they were like, it's Nicki Minaj's time. And it was like the image of her and those long like photoshopped legs to make her look like a Barbie doll. I remember sitting in piano lessons. I was probably like in like 4th grade. And I was like reading this and I was just like so captivated by this woman.
Oh.
I didn't even at the time really have familiarity with the music yet, but the imagery of what she was doing was like so captivating to me. And it was so unlike anything that I had ever seen before. Like the electric pink wig, the outfits that she wore, the way that she carried herself, the confidence that she exuded.
She was camp.
And then you listen to the early verses and you listen to like the work that she was doing at the time. And it's very clear why even before she released her debut, she had become such a favorite in the industry. Like if anyone wanted a female rapper to feature on their songs, they would go to her. And there is like kind of that manufactured scarcity in the industry where it's like she was like one of the few options, but it's also just like her immense talent and sort of like adaptability to all of these different genres, all of these different people. She was such a talented writer. And I think that like it just spoke to why she had this almost universal appeal at this point in time.
Like I will say, okay, so I was a freshman in college and I remember this album comes out and I was not somebody who had listened to a lot of rap or was necessarily just wasn't very knowledgeable or knew much about the genre. And I was so obsessed. It was my foray into rap was Nicki Minaj. And she had that bright pink wig and it felt really campy and it was really theatrical, and her rapping was so vivid and the energy was just so fun. And I just remember everybody was listening to Black Friday. Super Bass was everywhere. I memorized every single word to that song. That song would come on And it was like everyone dropped what they were doing. This one is for the boys with the booming systems, top down AC with the cooling systems. And it was like a challenge of who knew the most words. I even dressed up as Nicki for Halloween. Of course, no blackface, which look, it is possible to dress up as black icons and not do blackface, just so you know. I am proof of that. But yeah, I did the pink wig. I did like really, the makeup that she would do. It was really gay. It was like rainbow colored and just so theatrical in your face. And again, I was a huge Lady Gaga fan in high school. So it was like a natural transition for me from being a Gaga fan. And of course I was still a Gaga fan, but then Nicki Minaj comes along with this album. And I was like, oh my God, this is up my alley.
Yeah, like I said, I loved Nicki Minaj in high school. I had a Nicki Minaj poster on my boarding school wall. I think the thing I loved most about Nicki, and I remember, is there used to be a mystique around Nicki. Before things became the time period that we live in, where you see everything, everybody and everything is just so overexposed. Like I remember, like, you be hyped when you see like they put Nicki on a cover or something. Like you went to go buy it, to go get the poster out of the magazine, to go put it on your wall. Like you were excited when like Young Money actually put out like the music video and Nicki Minaj was in it. I remember like when Massive Attack dropped, like it was just a single nobody even thinks about. But I remember Nicki Minaj had few music videos at the time and being so excited for that. And then when you think about like the original mystique around Nicki, is like Nicki was talked about a lot, but she wasn't necessarily talking to us. I think honestly, how Nicki Minaj has gone down south is a testament to why we really need to start shutting the fuck up in 2026. Like everybody is too fucking accessible. You're too overexposed. You're telling me that everybody.
Yes, I talk about this a lot.
Low moral bar we have for our like artists in terms of what we will accept quietly from them and enjoy our music. We could know, like I said, we know Lil Wayne and all of that politics ain't good. There's a lot of artists who we know. They've said a little something, but they keep it quiet. But Nicki Minaj, like think about, Nicki Minaj has been going on coked out Twitter rants for years now, saying despicable shit to people.
And there's a real Trump-like quality to that. Where it's like Trump similarly uses social media in a very similar way. And because the behavior has been so normalized, and because there's a concerted effort to not report on every little thing he says, he gets away with so much. Just like the permissive structure around these individuals and the fact that like there is no bottom, where it's like people don't even fully recognize how bad it is getting until it's reached a point of no return.
I remember being in summer camp, Jewish summer camp, and like stealing my friend's iPod because he
Fresh
had Pink
Prince,
Friday
David,
on
26
his
months.
iPod, and I didn't have it. And, like, I wanted to listen to Fly
My Bourbon Pod, David, 22
with
months.
Rihanna, which is such a good song. Also, really random detail, I went to the same Jewish summer camp as Noah Schnapp at the same time, which like it's just so random. Shout out to the Jewish summer camps in the Northeast.
Factors. Well,
it is here that I also want to address Nicki's relationship to the LGBTQ community, because that's come up in the days since she appeared on Turning Point's speaking circuit with Erica Kirk and sort of attempting to parrot the transphobic talking points. And a lot of people have said that she never earned the LGBTQ icon status that she was given. And I actually have mixed feelings on that, because while it's true that she hasn't really ever done like outreach to the LGBTQ community, she hasn't done like, you know, like what Madonna did during AIDS, like stuff like that, really explicit, or like how like Gaga did the Born This Way. There's a number of LGBTQ icon type celebrities who also never did that. Like to me, Britney Spears comes to mind, and I would die for Britney. Everyone knows this. Not until later in Britney's career did she start like explicitly acknowledging, you know, her queer fans and stuff like that. I think Nicki and her art just like spoke to us in a certain way. And for me, it was actually very adjacent.
Look, and that's something that when we look at films, right, that we've watched here on stream, and I go, oh, this is a film that is beloved by the queer community. You know, they're the ones who put it on the map. They helped it to achieve the cult classic status that it has. And it's not because the film itself is overtly queer, but it's camp. It's something that queer people just found themselves drawn to the artistry, drawn to the campiness of it. It's not super traditional. It's fun. So yeah, I agree. I don't think someone or something has to be explicitly queer positive, you know, whether, wait, didn't Nicki Minaj once upon a time say that she was like, I used to be bi? Didn't she rap about how she used to be bi? Anyway, but you don't have to be queer or necessarily like your art explicitly about, you know, queer rights to still be an icon to the queer community. Now you have people like Gaga, and Gaga's a queer icon, and Gaga is very explicit in her support of the queer community. But I think Nicki drew in a lot of queer fans because of her whole look, because of her different characters and persona, and people just thought it was really fun.
To Lady Gaga, because they both came up around the same time doing something similar, which was being like super avant-garde, super weird with like the voices and the alter egos, and even just like hearing a woman dressed like Barbie.
Yeah, I think her alter ego was male.
And like slaying Goliath and the sort of over the top femme camp aesthetics. Like, I just remember it really spoke to me. Ole, do you have any LGBTQ thoughts?
The priest to me.
I think with respect to that, there have been several women rappers, not just Nicki Minaj, but there have been several of them that do a thing where they almost perform bisexuality for the male gaze. And
she was very Dragon Camp.
Nicki Minaj is one of them. Like in her name, like initially there used to be these kind of references that suggest you like bitches. And then all of a sudden it was no, affirmatively, explicitly, no, am I right? I've left that behind. I don't know what you're talking about. I think Nicki Minaj is probably just a cautionary tale in a lot of different respects. But in this one, that like maybe we shouldn't be so hasty to give people like their flowers as like assuming that they have a solidarity with this community or an allyship just because they appeal to that community.
I do think there's a difference between being like being a queer icon because you are an outspoken supporter of the queer community, because you are, you know, subversive in your work, and it's subversive in a way that also speaks to your politics, right? Like I think there's that, and then I think there's an icon that queer people love, an icon with a lot of queer fans.
Nicki Minaj is someone who's always,
the gay council chooses who they choose, and it doesn't always make immediate sense.
She's always been like save the pleasantness for her fans, but that is about capitalism. That is about making money, and I'm not saying that like as a negative to her. That's what you're gonna do. Go be nice to your fans. You should be, right? But she's being nice to her fans, and they just so happen to be, many of them are in the LGBT community. But if you listen to the shit that comes out of her mouth, it's clear that she don't rock like none at all. You know, there was actually recently she was doing like a live with her fans, and one of them came on that's a come on before that she's spoken to comes on, and she's like, oh hey babes, like real sweet, and she's like, oh what's going on? Like, oh I've been really down lately, and she's like, oh why? And she's like, oh well, you know, it's been really hard for like this Trump administration. This administration doesn't feel good about like the gays, doesn't treat us good. Like it's hard for us right now. Nicki Minaj was like, basically, I should have known you was coming with this bullshit. Mute their mic, cuss them off. So I said that to say, I think the lesson here is we should maybe not be so quick to embrace people because they appeal to us. I used to like the baby, and then I found out baby don't like us too much.
There was a guy who I had an internship with like probably over a decade ago now, who as long as I've ever followed him online, he has been a barb before all else. Like initial, like first identity, barb, then like gay, then like entertainment journalist. And I have watched him defend Nicki Minaj relentlessly for years. And this past week, actually, he announced he was like indefinitely leaving social media. And I'm like, this is because of this. He didn't say it's because of what Nicki's been doing, but I'm like,
no way he's leaving social media because of being a barb.
Has been built up and up and up. It's like splintering now.
In 2012, we get our first big political statement from Nicki Minaj, which is through her,
this is the Mitt Romney
verse in Lil Wayne's song Mercy, where she says, I'm a Republican voting for Mitt Romney. You lazy bitches is fucking up the economy. No, I did not know this existed.
Really?
I did not know this existed.
Oh, I know where you been, yeah. I heard it when it dropped.
I mean,
it wasn't even a good pithy line.
Well, because it's not even like a good lyric. It's just her saying, I am a Republican voting for Mitt Romney. Like, it's just so. And then Obama, during that campaign cycle, went on a radio show and said that he didn't believe her and that it must have been one of her alter egos speaking, because at this point, Nicki Minaj, through her art, has developed all of these alter egos, one of them being Roman, who is described in some places as a gay man. And then Nicki Minaj tweets in response to Obama, "Ha, thank you for understanding my creative humor and sarcasm, Mr. President. The smart ones always do. Sending love and support at Barack Obama."
I don't know if that was creative humor and sarcasm.
An interesting moment, because it really is, for a lot of Nicki Minaj's career, hard to know which parts of her are like you're meant to take seriously, because she has all these characters that sometimes she says things that are serious but then regrets them and then retroactively like says, oh, well, that was an alter ego. It makes the whole thing very difficult to parse out.
There's a really strong parallel here for me to Trisha Paytas.
I'm sure there is, Kat.
Particularly because at around the exact same time, Trisha Paytas made a video that was like, I'm voting for Mitt Romney.
And I'm not saying, be a conservative Republican like me, because I don't push my beliefs on people. Yeah, so I wanted to make my official video / support for Romney Ryan 2012. Yeah, so basically Mitt Romney is super hot.
Barack Obama did not care about Trisha Paytas because at this point in time, there would be no reason for any politician to be commenting on what she was up to on YouTube. But it's the exact same kind of effect where there's a built-in defense when these people who embrace these types of characters and this type of like trolling, because it's like, as a fan, you can then decide like what I interpret as real and what I interpret as fake.
In 2014, Nicki releases her third album.
Creating a cast of characters so anytime I say something stupid, I can say it was someone else trolling. I need to do that, I guess, as well. I got to come up with all these alter egos. So if I say something and it doesn't hit, I'll be like, oh, that was my alter ego, Brad. He's a real dumbass.
Album, The Pink Print. At this point, she has for years been one of music's biggest
I do
superstars.
have Caroline.
And in 2015, we are now at the run-up to the 2016 election, Nicki appears on the cover of Billboard. And in her cover star interview, they ask her about the election. Question: you're from New York, so you also must have an opinion on Donald Trump. Ole, do you want to read the response?
There are points that he has made that may not have been so horrible if his approach wasn't so childish. But in terms of entertainment, I think he's hilarious. I wish they could just film him running for president. That's the ultimate reality show. All it is to me is a reflection of what I was saying earlier about being unprincipled. Like, the reality is this: whether or not she tries to pin it on alter ego, like, do we know whether or not she's being serious when she says, oh, I'm voting for Mitt Romney, I'm a Republican? This is how I see it. If you are a person that understands politics, you're a Black person in this world, a Black adult that understands the stakes that come with an election, who understood what the Republicans are and why it's dangerous for the Republicans to have power, there's no way you would be playing games with your influence and your platform and the possibility for people to be influenced to not understand. So the fact in and of itself that it doesn't matter enough to you to be definitive, to stay out of something if you're not going to be serious, that in and of itself tells me how you feel, because it's one of those things, like, I don't need you to, in your heart, believe all the things of the oppressor. I just need you to make way for it. And that's how I see people who are unprincipled, who don't care one way or the next, who don't like recognize the stakes, who just do foolishness. That's how I feel about like when Kanye West says he's running for president, whether or not he really
If you're stupid, shut the fuck up is the TLD.
is and what he's doing and whether he signed up. The fact alone that you're doing this kind of fucking bullshit when the stakes are so fucking high tells me everything. So I've been thought Nicki was full of shit. And all my dislike for Nicki, I never thought she was this, actually. I dislike Nicki for being somebody who is, like I said, a harbinger of misogyny, somebody who is helping reinforce a system that discriminates against women because she would like to be the exception. She wants to be the token. And I think that is horrible. And that's what I didn't like. But that is limited in scope. You know what I mean? Like, being a misogynist, you can be a regular run-of-the-mill hating ass bitch who only wants you to be successful and not be a fascist propagandist. Like, at no point did I think one day that bitch Nicki might come out and try and help manufacture consent for a genocide in Nigeria, you know.
When people make these...
Yeah, that started to be when I soured on Nicki. It's like, once upon a time, she was saying on MTV that women are held to a different standard than men, how tough women are called bitches, but tough men are called bosses. And then seeing as she, in the ensuing years, was constantly calling women bitches, was constantly treating women in a way that she definitely didn't treat men, and looked at women as her enemy, as, oh, there's only room for one of us, and that's me. Mama, the call is coming from inside the house. So that was when I started to be like, nah.
statements where they're kind of starting off by saying like, well, Trump maybe has some points, but it's like, it's the way that he says it that's so immature and childish that that's the problem. That to me is like such a massive red flag, because I'm like, what points do you think he has? Like, what exactly is Trump right about? It comes back to this idea that she and anyone who speaks like this is deeply unprincipled.
It's like Charlie Kirk, I didn't agree with everything.
There's something underneath like the layers of Trump that is good, when there's actually nothing. Like, obviously, like, he has no good ideas, he has no redeeming beliefs. So now you've opened up this pathway where it's like, I understand how she went from saying this in 2015 to a decade later, like fully supporting and endorsing him, because there was never anything to support about him, but she always left that door open.
Trump obviously gets elected in 2016. November 2016, Nicki Minaj comes out with Black Barbies, which is a song that I loved. And in that, she has the lyric, "Island girl, Donald Trump want me go home." I don't know. At the time, I just remember thinking like, oh, that was just such a clean diss of Trump's anti-immigration policies at the time. I don't really know if there's anything to add about that. It just seemed like, I don't know, the cultural tide at the time was very anti-Trump right after his first election.
That's what I was going to say. It's a reflection of convenience. It's like the times.
Yes. And it's like, if you're operating from the perspective of either a Barb or someone who is like of two minds about Nicki at this point, when she says things like this, you're like, oh, okay, maybe the comment on the radio show was just a fluke. All she has to do is kind of drop these breadcrumbs of like, oh, I actually am anti-Trump. Oh, I am actually pro-gay. And that creates like almost like a justification for people to maybe think like she's not as bad as it actually seems.
She's aligning herself with power. It's very simple. And that's what she made her comment about Mitt Romney. And then when Obama is popular and likable and addresses something and doesn't outright diss her and people like her, then she leans into, let me be cute with that on Twitter. The same way she's always been trying to be cute with the Republican politicians all over Twitter and stuff now, because that's who's in power. That's all it is. And so she throws out her one little something, because she knows people eat up fucking breadcrumbs. Like, oh, they want to send me home because everybody was anti-Trump in 2016. But in 2025, when the Republicans are moving where it's a fucking regime, not an administration, then you see her fucking breaking her fucking ankles to try to any little, she's salivating, any random fucking Joe Schmo Republican can speak to on Twitter and she replying, oh, blah, 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 blah. She wants to be aligned with power, and that's for her own gains. That's all it is.
Here is
I think too, that's why she's aligned herself with Taylor Swift and tries to be like, I'm one of you, the Swifties. Oh my God, you guys are so awesome. I love it over here, blah, blah, blah. Because Taylor Swift is the biggest pop star in the world. Because Taylor Swift has a ton of cultural power.
We have to talk about Nicki's brother, Jelani. Nicki has an older brother named Jelani. He's 5 years older than her.
Olay has been waiting for this day,
coming,
I know.
But huge trigger warning for like
certified
basically
hater.
The rest of the episode for sexual assault, pedophilia, all of this stuff, because it hits Nicki's life hard. In 2017, Jelani, who was then 38, was found guilty of sexually assaulting a child younger than 13. Shortly after Jelani's arrest, Nicki paid his $100,000 bail. She also posted a family photo at the time on Instagram, seemingly in support of her brother. Meanwhile, in the case, prosecutors alleged that Jelani had started abusing this girl when she was 11 and raped her while her mom was at work. This occurred repeatedly between 2014 and 2015, so Jelani was around 35 at the time. Nicki's and Jelani's mother, Carol, as well as Jelani's lawyers, accused the girl and her mom of trying to get money out of Nicki's family. The girl's brother, who was 10 at the time, testified as a witness to the abuse, but didn't say anything at the time because he was scared CPS would remove their mother from the house. Jelani ended up being found guilty and is serving 25 to life. I know some of the details in there are really hard to hear, but I do think that sometimes these celebrity stories of sexual abuse get repeated so often online that they just kind of get turned into memes. And it's like, oh, Nicki defends pedophiles in her family, Nicki this. We see that happening a lot with Epstein. And I think it's so important to just highlight that, like, at the heart of these stories are victims. And with that said, let's talk about Nicki's husband, because he's a huge part of this story as well. I will say in 2018, Nicki Minaj is continuing to criticize Trump's family separation policy.
I love when a stream of mine comes full circle. I love when what we start with is then brought up with what we're ending with.
She posts a photo at this point of a migrant detention center with the caption, quote, "I came to this country as an illegal immigrant. I can't imagine the horror of being in a strange place and having my parents stripped from me at the age of 5. This is so scary to me. Please stop this. Can you try to imagine the terror and panic these kids feel right now, not knowing if their parents are dead or alive, if they'll ever see them again?" Yes, it's just interesting to me that all of this stuff is still happening and happening again and happening in ways ever more brutal. And I guess Nicki doesn't care anymore. But anyway, also in 2018, Nicki reconnects with her now husband, Kenneth Petty. Kenneth Petty and Nicki went to high school together in Queens, and they reconnect all these years later after Kenneth has served 2 prison sentences, one for 4 years for being convicted of attempted rape in 1994, and another for 7 years for manslaughter in 2006. They get married in 2019. They have 1 son together, Big Papa. The details of the 1994 rape were that Kenneth Petty and the alleged victim, Jennifer Huff, were both 16. He held her at knife point while she was walking to school, took her to a nearby house, and assaulted her. Kenneth initially denied the first-degree rape allegations, then pled guilty to the lesser charge of attempted first-degree rape, and like I said, spent 4 years in prison.
This is what I'll say about this, and I'm going to look at this in the most favorable to Nicki and be as nuanced as possible as somebody who was a defense attorney and an abolitionist. I think it is the general claim that Nicki is somebody that aligns with abusers is true. I think what counts as evidence towards that is important where we make the differentiations. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong about Nicki Minaj paying the bail for her brother so her brother can battle a case from the outside. I don't think it inherently means in paying his bail without anything further. I don't think it inherently means that she is defending an abuser or that's what's going on here. I think you can think, and it's happened a lot of times. A lot of people have family and loved ones who support them or still love them while they are battling a case or maybe even battling their innocence or whatever have you. And it isn't about them trying to vilify their victims or defend them or anything like that. I think that can be multiple.
No, I understand what she's saying. Like it's a lot more complicated. This is something that she's making the point that Nicki using her resources for her brother's legal battle for his lawyer and his bail and stuff isn't necessarily signaling that, doesn't necessarily signal by itself her supporting abusers, her denigrating victims, etc. It's complicated when it's family, but I think what she's about to get into is the fact that when it came to her husband, Kenneth Petty, both of them were sued by the victim of her husband because the suit alleged that they engaged in witness intimidation and harassment, which definitely goes a step further than paying your brother's legal fees.
Different things happening in the same respect that I don't inherently kick Nicki's back in for marrying somebody who is previously incarcerated or for rape and for manslaughter. It's not inherently that. I think there are arguments that can be made and abolitionist arguments that are to be made about accountability and atonement and going through the system and XYZ. I think there are different things to be made. What makes Nicki a problem is it's one thing to pay bail for your brother, right? It's one thing to pay bail for your brother. It's one thing to have a husband who has a previous criminal record. What takes Nicki over the edge is that Nicki is, even in her own personal, professional life, you'll see different artists like or 6ix9ine or The Game, or it almost feels like the minute someone is accused of something like that, it's then that Nicki pops out to be the one person willing to be there for them, to be on their side. I can understand Nicki Minaj saying Kenneth Petty was convicted for something when he was a young teenager, that he did something horrible and he served his time and he's told. That's an entirely different thing from harassing his victim. I want to be clear because I think it can be dangerous when we think it is, but it's not the progressive position in actualities that anybody who's been in the criminal system is to be treated as irredeemable or whatever have you, or all across the board, or that they shouldn't be a part of society, they're not deserving of love, they can't be married, they can't have kids, they can't, all these different things. So I think that that's a different argument, and I want to make sure I step away from that. That is not inherently my problem. Like, why Nicki Minaj have to marry somebody with no, it's not that. It's the extra stuff that proves it. The extra everything that she has to say. Like I said, when she lets us know she thinks about their victims. So I do think Nicki Minaj is somebody who
also Olay is a lawyer. For those who don't know her, she's amazing.
Aligns herself with abuse and abusers, but I just wanted to be clear as to why, and then I'm not drawing this broad stroke.
She's also
that just
cultural,
demonizes and vilifies anybody that's been convicted or previously incarcerated
content
for
creator,
small or horrible, heinous crimes.
There was a 2021 lawsuit filed by Jennifer Huff, the victim in that case, years and years and years later, for $15 million against Kenneth Petty and Nicki Minaj for harassment and attempting to intimidate her into recanting her 1994 testimony. Jennifer alleged that Nicki and Kenneth would bombard her and her family with phone calls, unexpected visits to their homes, and with bribes, allegedly up to $500,000 for her to recant her allegations. And then this legal saga continues when, in 2023, Kenneth and Nicki moved from New York to LA, where Kenneth does not immediately register as a sex offender in California. So he's charged with violating the terms of his probation and sentenced to 120 days of house arrest. Nicki has defended this relationship strenuously. She said on Queen Radio, which is her radio show, "I didn't know that in our society, you have to be plagued by your past. I didn't know that people can't turn over a new leaf. I didn't know that your viciousness and evilness was this deep-rooted, this deep-seated." And like Ole said, I'm also someone who believes in like rehabilitative justice. And like, I agree with what she's saying there, but she also isn't just saying that. She's harassing her husband's accuser.
Exactly. There's nuance to be had, but it would be reasonable if she were operating in good faith, but she's not.
And something that I think about...
And then taking in the totality of Nicki working with other artists, like after it's come out that there are allegations of pedophilia and abuse. And then Nicki's like, perfect, I'll go work with them.
Regards to the cycle of abuse, victim psychology, and sort of Nicki's evolving political leanings around the same time that she's aligning with these abusers in the music industry and sort of defending and engaging in these harassment of victims related to her family. I think about how there's sort of this expectation that people have that if someone themselves is abused or grows up in like an abusive household, as Nicki has talked about, that you will then for the rest of your life operate from the perspective of being like victim centered, and that you will take things like abuse more seriously, and that you will take the side of victims over perpetrators because it's something that you yourself went through. But the
also, when the past is sex crimes against a minor, I think, and again, this is like nuance required here, but fuck Nicki Minaj and her husband, first of all, okay? Her husband was 16 when the rape happened that was alleged. And what Ole and Matt are trying to speak to is like generally as leftists believing in rehabilitation, believing that especially somebody who commits a crime when they're young, even as heinous as that crime is, if they, you know, is there room here to demonstrate true rehabilitation, true redemption, like people needing to be better. Like we need to have a society that we've this understanding of like people commit crimes, and now there's a spectrum to this, right? This isn't just applicable to every single crime, and there are circumstances permitting, but they're explaining that even with those leftist principles, that doesn't apply to Nicki and her husband because of the behavior that they have engaged in for years. It's not a matter of her husband committed this horrible crime when he was 16 towards, another 16-year-old. It's that he did not, he's not a person who demonstrated remorse. She, along with her husband, engaged in harassment and intimidation of the victim, and were sued for it. And Nicki also showing that she has no problem surrounding herself with abusers. So like that's what's taken all into account to come to the conclusion that Nicki is very problematic in this sense.
Fortunate reality is a lot of times victims and people who are sort of bystanders to abuse develop the opposite sort of ideology and perspective around abuse. And the reason that...
And we also, and to be clear, my position is we can't have a society where we are, where we are focused on this path of rehabilitation and redemption when we still do not serve victims, when we still do not protect them and ensure that they are not lost in all of this. So it's both these things. But I don't think that, and often what happens is people jump real quickly to the, is there no path of redemption? Well, how come they can't have redemption? It's like, first of all, most of the time people aren't demonstrating it at all. Okay. They're not showing it all, whether it's Jonathan Majors or whoever, that they feel any remorse, that they are deserving of redemption. Secondly, nobody gives a shit about victims. Nobody cares about, what happened to them, and ensuring that they receive the justice that they deserve, and that people who are causing harm are not, who takes up all the attention and the focus, especially when they're famous, which that happens all the time.
Is because these cases and how abusers and victims are treated does not happen in a vacuum. A majority of times, people are not held accountable. And this reminds me of sort of what Cardi B was talking about in that tweet, where she was like, Nicki, you were not protected as a child and you did not receive justice. And so now today you are sort of repeating this cycle against other people. You see that in a lot of cases. If you see power and abuse of power be enabled and rewarded, and you go through that process yourself, in order to rationalize that and sort of move on from that, oftentimes people internalize that sort of logic of abuse, where it's like, actually the person in power is right.
I totally agree. Prioritizing justice for victims is not something that
yourself as in the wrong. And so then you carry that with you into other situations. And it can also apply more broadly to society. And I think a lot of times, like, conservative rhetoric sort of is this logic of abuse, where it's like people who have power in situations, who abuse their powers in situations, should be enabled. They should have like the advantage here. There's a direct parallel here to Trump and to Epstein and to all of these things that we see happening at like this macro societal level, where it's like this logic that facilitates and enables abuse also facilitates and enables conservative ideology. Like, they go hand in hand and oftentimes are one and the same. That to me like speaks to, I think, a lot of the way that Nicki Minaj carries herself, and why the things that she went through perhaps in her own childhood, and also the way she was treated in the music industry, she's now repeating that cycle and doing it to other people, because she has yet to sort of internalize or externalize that it was wrong. She's not really seeking justice in these situations. She's just repeating the exact same cycles of harm and abuse that happened to her. One of the things that really turned me off from Nicki Minaj, where I sort of like drew my own line in the sand and was like, I don't even really want to listen to this woman's music anymore because I can no longer stand her as a person, was her association with 6ix9ine.
Yeah. Wait, can you explain? As like, I almost exclusively listen to pop music, so you gotta help me out here.
6ix9ine is a rapper who around this time was doing like really highly charting music with Nicki Minaj. She did Trolls with him.
I was gonna say, didn't they do the Trolls song together?
6ix9ine has had a lot of different legal issues, but one of the things that really bothered me was that in 2015, he pled guilty, and I'm reading directly from the Wikipedia description here. He pled guilty to a felony count of use of a child in a sexual performance. So he had this video involving this 13-year-old girl that was distributed online, and it was part of a music video. And I remember reading about this incident, being so disturbed, seeing that Nicki Minaj was like working with him at the same time, and being like, this to me really like has shaken like my perception of her. Like, I kind of think this is my personal breaking point. But what's interesting about this as well is that 6ix9ine is still accepted broadly in our culture today. I'm home for the holidays, and my brother put on the Jake Paul fight on Netflix. When Jake Paul came out into the stadium, he was literally with 6ix9ine.
I mean, fork found in kitchen, but yeah.
But it's like, this is on Netflix. Like, people aren't really talking about this. People aren't really like condemning this or even taking notice of this. And that's because we live in a culture that enables and rewards this behavior.
If there's any consolation, 6ix9ine is broke right now. Like, got to bankrupt all these things, sell all this shit. Like, he is down the fuck back. Like, fully ain't nobody fucking with 6ix9ine.
Crumbs of justice.
Yeah. We exist in this culture that rewards and enables this cycle of violence. Nicki Minaj, again, she's not operating or making these decisions in a vacuum. She's responding and engaging with like the exact same incentive structure that exists more broadly in our culture. And so that's not an excuse or a justification for anything that she does. It's just like, it occurs to me that like she is doing what essentially society is encouraging her to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Kat. Like, she's convinced herself that the victims are wrong and the people who are doing the abuse are in the right. But in addition to that, she's also hoping to protect herself. She's trying to keep herself safe. And she's convinced herself that this is inevitable, but there is the token. You know, Derek Bell talks about this in Faces at the Bottom of the Well when he talks about rules of racial standing. She thinks, okay, if I'm in the music industry that treats women like this and sees women like this, I'm going to be the woman that parrots what they're saying, and so they'll protect me and fuck them. It's the same thing she's doing now. It's like, okay, Donald Trump and them are power, whatever. I'm going to be the one to get up there and say all this about Black women, say all this about this group, say all this to say what y'all want to hear, so you protect me while everybody else is in danger. It's a foolishly short-sighted defense mechanism, but it's one that we see Nicki Minaj employ in every situation. She's always going to be the one to speak against the interests of the group that she is actually a part of, because she thinks that the majority will protect her if she aligns with them.
This episode is also sponsored by our longtime friends over at Rocket Money.
That's something that I talk about a lot with women who align themselves with patriarchal power and who are an enemy to their fellow women. And it's this belief. It's this belief that they'll be protected. You know, white women who over and over again support somebody like Donald Trump, it's like some of them may recognize that they're still in a cage, but at least that cage is higher and bigger, you know? So it's better to be in that position when it's like the train. It's like the train in Snowpiercer, where it's better to be in a higher position in a bigger cage, even when it's still a cage, than, you know, what you view as the only alternative, which is you're at the bottom, which is that your cage is the smallest possible.
And what I would say at this point is like reputational turmoil. COVID hits. And up until this point, most of what we know about Nicki Minaj's political identity is basically everything I've told you so far. It's pretty incoherent. It's more or less
Also, I keep mentioning Snowpiercer because we watched that in film class last night. If you missed it,
she doesn't come out like that stridently against anything he does. And then in September of 2021, she hits us with perhaps the tweet that kicked off the undoing of the United States as we know it today. I feel like I have this tweet burned in the back of my brain, like I could recite it in my sleep, but nonetheless.
My cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen. His friend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl has called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not believe.
My cousin's friend, swollen balls. Wait, is this when Hassan responded to her and then Nicki came at him and then the barbs were coming for his neck? It was the cousin's friend's swollen balls tweet. The tweet of all tweets. The tweet of all tweets.
Following day because she wasn't vaccinated and there was a vaccination requirement. Now, this was the tweet heard around the world.
That launched 1,000 tweets.
Like in hindsight, wasn't
and
her cousin's friend in Trinidad, like didn't he just get chlamydia?
Oh,
Isn't
no.
that because like his balls got swollen and he became impotent, so his wife left him? It's not making, none of this is making sense. I do think the real explanation here is that her cousin's friend, who never gets identified.
You know what I will say? The fact that Hassan survived that, he can survive anything. He ratioed Nicki Minaj at a point in time when the Barbs had a lot more power than they do now, that Nicki had not gone fully MAGA. And so there were people who were criticizing her, but not to the extent that they are now. And he walked away from it. He did. So if he can do that, he can do anything. Osnox's video on it is still so iconic. I don't want to get too distracted right now because I want to finish this. We still have half an hour, but is this the Osnox video?
Okay.
Yeah. Osnami reacts to getting Nicki Minaj suspended. Classic.
By the way, cheated on his fiance, got chlamydia. Because he got chlamydia, the wife finds out and then leaves it. Like, isn't that the most plausible explanation? Tell me if I'm wrong.
The most plausible explanation is that Nicki Minaj be doing substances and talking shit on Twitter. There's no evidence that she didn't pull all of this out of her ass. Like, does any part of this sound real? Like, why would this even be? Let me ask yourself, what Caribbean man do you know would volunteer to anybody that he can't get his dick up so his wife leave him? Let alone volunteer it to somebody that might tell it to a rap superstar who might tweet it.
I agree. It makes no sense at all. And it strikes me as like part of a pattern of like, okay, she's getting heat because she didn't go to the Met Gala. Rather than say like, it's because I refuse to get vaccinated, she concocts this like wild story to sort of like shift the blame, shift the attention. I mean, it worked. It worked because this became such a massive like meme. And even people who like don't pay attention to Nicki Minaj at all were like taking note of this, and it just became like such a pivotal moment in pop culture at this point in time.
This was during like the height of like the vaccination wars, let's say. And I remember like Tucker Carlson being on Fox News, like Nicki Minaj is one of us. Officials in Trinidad, the health ministry in Trinidad, investigated this claim. They were like, who is Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend? They ended up releasing a public statement saying that they, quote, wasted so much time trying to confirm Nicki Minaj's comments about the COVID jab. The White House got on the phone with Nicki Minaj to discuss like why the vaccine was safe and she didn't need to worry about it. And it's interesting that government officials from multiple countries got involved.
The back of the bus non-tweet was not it. Wait, who was that? Hassan? Oh no. I did not know that. You know, I will be, as somebody who's been friends with him for a long time, I will say that Hassan is great in a lot of ways, but he's not perfect. Chat stopped him from tweeting that. Oh my God. One of the few times he's listened to chat and it was the right decision. He typed it and deleted it. Oh God. Oh no. Oh no. He wrote a tweet saying Tucker Carlson would sooner run Nicki over with a bus sooner than even letting her in the back, and chat stopped him from posting it. See, this is why sometimes you do need to listen to chat. I do feel like I listen to my chat more than others. Chat's not right all the time, but it is a reminder that streamers should sometimes listen when their chat is screaming at them. No, a chat W. You should. No, I'm not getting bangs. Well, no. See, I want bangs, but then I don't want bangs. I want bangs, but I don't want bangs. His analysis is correct. He just wasn't the person to say it that way, and he listened. Yes, Hassan is not the person who should express that. Who should say that? That's one of those when you do see the tweet, when you do see someone tweet something like that, where you're like, oh, not the person to be saying it. Ooh, I mean, look, I am not going to pretend. I'm not going to pretend I'm flawless. This is why, though, my rule is before I tweet something, I don't. Here's a good rule of thumb. Before you tweet, delete it. Now, I pause and I really think and I go, I try to do all the considerations and then I decide. And a lot of times it's not even because I'm about to say something that it's going to result in like oh, you're not the person to say that. A lot of times it's more of, do I even need to be saying anything? Do I even need to add my 2 cents in? Do I even need to respond to this person? Because sometimes, especially, I think this is good advice. When you're responding to someone on the internet who's pissed you off, which is a lot of people, and it happens all the time, sometimes you just need to just type out a response, but then you don't actually send it. And you in typing what you're going to say, you can almost like get out that rage. And then you realize, okay, I don't actually need to respond to this person. So yes, rule of thumb, if you're going to tweet, probably don't. I am on shrooms right now. This is a very interesting, probably an interesting experience to be having on shrooms. If it were me, I would probably go gather a bunch of blankies and light some candles and listen to some music. I always ask myself, there you are. Do I want to talk to this person? And the answer is almost always no. Yes, I tell myself, do I want to engage? Which means this person will engage back, which means at some point I'm going to have to stop this or else it will just keep going. And The answer is always no. When I go, is it worth it? No, it's not. No, it is not.
As a result of this one tweet, but I think it just speaks to her influence, right?
It speaks how much attention we give coked out Twitter rounds. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what this is. Like, you don't listen to, if you see a crazy person on the road raving and ranting, you don't ask yourself, I wonder what they mean. Like, you don't try to make sense of it. But that's what people do with Nicki Minaj, and it doesn't make sense because look at the words that are on the paper. Like, look at the words that we're pretending could have come from somewhere legitimate. My cousin in Trinidad
thank you for the
won't
6
get the
months.
vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen. And we over here, maybe the cousin friend don't exist. They don't exist. None of it's real. Nicki Minaj just be talking fuck.
Nicki Minaj would double down on her anti-vax politics in December of 2023, where she said, "Every time I talk about politics, people get mad. I'm sorry, but I am not going to be told who I should get on social media and campaign for. There's a lot we don't know that's going on in the government, and I don't think it changes whether you lean to the left or the right." I don't know. I just think the whole vaccine thing, to your point, it was so absurd, but she also got a lot of backlash for it. And one thing that I think becomes extremely visible about Nicki Minaj from here on out is that she just does not know how to deal with backlash. And she always, as many people do politically, especially celebrities and, you know, people like J.K. Rowling come to mind, she pushes herself deeper into what she already thinks and already says, no matter how unfounded it is, no matter how wrong it is, no matter how hurtful it is, because people telling her that she's wrong reinforces her belief that she's right.
I feel like we've seen.
And remember, if you're an actual principled person, when you are on the receiving end of backlash, whether it's fair or not, you don't change your principles. You don't suddenly go, all right, well, fuck y'all. I'm actually bigoted now. Oh, well, now trans people shouldn't have rights. Like, we see over and over again people who are called out for the things that they're saying, for their behavior. And when they use that as an excuse, either why I left the left, Anna Kasparian, or they're not even like an actual, they're not even a stated leftist, but they will jump on the, well, now I'm going this way train. You made me racist. Those are people who were not truly principled in the first place, where to them, it's a matter of convenience. It's like their politics are what is most convenient, what's going to serve me, not what is going to serve the collective. It's what's good for me. And people look, it's a very human reaction. It is a very human feeling to initially be like flustered and upset when somebody is criticizing you, when someone's calling you out, and when it's a lot of people, and when it's a lot of people on the internet, like that can be a very overwhelming feeling. And I think it is a human response to initially go, get defensive. But the difference is you may feel that at first, and then, don't go tweeting off about it. You may feel that at first, and then you go, okay, that was my human reaction. And now I'm going to sit here and actually think about what the criticism is, what people are saying. And I am certainly not going to announce that this is now my, well, now you guys made me racist for real. It's easier the more open you are to testing your beliefs. If you haven't refined your positions, you're not really about it. You just want to feel you're right. Yeah, it's people who just want to be right. They want to be right about everything. They don't want to be called on anything. They don't want to be criticized ever. A lot of it is pride and ego. Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm saying, look, it is a natural human response. Our pride, our egos, all that. But the difference is how do you proceed after maybe that initial reaction? And for people who are actually principled, have strong morals and values, you're not going to suddenly ditch those because people online are yelling at you.
And a lot of people have like felt this way for a long time and behaved this way, but there's much more transparency and sort of pride, I feel like, in that perspective in celebrity culture now in a like post 2020 era than I feel like we had before.
It's also interesting to me that during these years, the latter 2010s and the early 2020s, the landscape of female rap is really rapidly changing in a way that clearly threatens Nicki Minaj, who for her whole career has identified as female rap's #1 star, and rightfully so from the beginning. But by the early 20s, Cardi B is a similarly statued rival. Megan Thee Stallion has blown up. Doja Cat, Lotto, Sweetie, Ice Spice, Flo Milli, Glorilla, all of these women finding their own success in a way that makes Nicki insecure. I think it's interesting that she goes through some version of this like mid-career crisis that a lot of entertainers who make the MAGA pivot go through.
No, you're right, but she's only in crisis because of that. Like, again, it's a gatekeeper mindset. Like, she never stopped being successful. She's actually been able to be successful and have a sustained amount of relevance and legitimacy longer than most ever have. But that's the problem with when you are greedy and selfish and you want it to only be you. You can never have enough if you think you're supposed to have everything. And Nicki Minaj has made it very clear that she does not.
Yeah. I respect when people are comfortable publicly stating an oopsie like Chapel Roan today, which we covered. So many people would have just been like, I guess this is my position now that I must defend to the death. Yeah, where people will, it's like a lot of people then go down swinging. It's like, do you even really believe in this? Is this really something, the hill that you're going to die on? Or are you just unwilling to say that you were wrong? Are you unwilling to hear out another perspective and go, you know what? I hear this and I am taking it into account and I recognize like, yeah, I was short-sighted. Yeah, I was a little thoughtless here. Nope. No, I now defend this until the day I die.
Want or like other women in rap to have not even just other women in rap. She was talking shit about SZA the other day. She did not like women, period.
And the thing that's crazy, I'm sorry I keep pausing, but the thing that's crazy is like so many of these public figures, do people not understand that if you just go, my bad, sorry about that, it's over, it's done. Now, I know I'm saying this after I just covered the Chapel Roan thing where people are like, now, because, okay, yeah, there are those who will do that. But for the most part, it's then a non-story. It's like, okay, over and done with. It's the doubling and tripling down. It's people who will not let it go then. And so then it's just this forever back and forth. And it's like, okay, all right, well, now you've dug this hole even deeper. You have dug this hole even deeper. It's so simple. The solution here, you just say, my bad. I'm sorry, I understand now. And then there's nothing more to it. There's nothing more to it. Wait, who the hell is saying poutine is nasty? Because those people are wrong. No, it's an objective fact that poutine is delicious.
To have a modicum of success. So she'll never be happy. Nicki Minaj thinks that she's supposed to have it all, and there's just nothing you can do about a person like that. You can have a bottomless pit of ambition. I suffer from that. You can also even be an egomaniac and make it, but you still have to be realistic. Like, for example, 50 Cent is an egomaniac with a lot of ambition who's an unpleasant person. But 50 Cent has managed to be really successful because he clues into reality. Like 50 Cent has a book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. I've read it. He talks about in there that like 50 Cent too wanted to dominate rap and dominate hip hop and all these things. And he did for a long time. And he said, and then he realized like, hey, listen, hip hop is a young man's sport. Like I realized I was going to venues and realized this is not the same as what it was. They're not responding to me here the way that they were. And I realized like, oh shit, if I still want to be who I want to be, I still want to be a big thing. I still want to make money. I want to do this. Like I can still do that. I can still have like more ambitions and visions, but I have to pivot in some way. Nicki Minaj is not a person who wants to change with the times or adapt. She doesn't want to adapt. She expects and demands that the world adapts to her, and it doesn't work like that. And when it doesn't, she just continues to lash out and lash out and lash out and lash out year after year after year.
Yeah, and she definitely also struggles, as so many celebrities do, so many celebrities who end up going right do, with conflating all criticism as hate. And I think this is especially unfortunate because Nicki Minaj struggled so much, as we've identified, especially early in her career, with like so much sexism, so much.
Dude, that is so annoying. It is so annoying when anyone with a platform, any type of public figure does that, where everyone's a hater. All criticism is just labeled as unfair hatred. There's no differentiation. It's just, oh, look at all my haters. It's like, okay, it's a pet peeve for sure. I mean, it's I wouldn't even say it's a pet peeve, because a pet peeve is kind of usually something that is a minor annoyance. Like, I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem that so many people have they succumb to this belief that, you know, you can never back down, that everyone's a hater, that it's all unfair, that you're a victim. It's so crazy to me. It's so fucking crazy to me when I see a lot of these streamers act like victims. They're haters. I'm such a victim. Look at all my haters. It's like, I've seen some of those tweets. I think they're valid. I think it's valid criticism. It's somebody who takes the time to be thoughtful and is like, you know, and especially people who are like, I'm a fan of this person, and yet I still can criticize them. Like, look at my haters. I'm like, no, those aren't haters. Do you understand what hater means? Do you understand that people who are expressing that they, you know, that they like you, that they like your content, that they're a fan of yours, that they're disappointed to see you aligning with something, that you know, said whatever you said? So classic for celebs to turn into contrarians because they couldn't take one criticism once and turn to calling everyone haters and start saying things they know are unpopular. It's so classic.
Racism, misogynoir. I think something that she does is, like, when she gets flack, for example, for this lawsuit of harassing the victims of her family members who are sexual abusers, she, I think, compartmentalizes that with all of the actual, like, bigoted hate that she's received and puts it all under this umbrella of, like, well, everyone's out to get me. She just becomes, it's almost like a broken machine, unable to process any sort of criticism. And there is no better example of this happening than her beef with Megan Thee Stallion, which could be its own series of 7 episodes. And I know we've already been recording for like 2 hours, but do we want to just very quickly touch on what happened with Megan Thee Stallion?
It's following like a very similar formula to some of what we've already talked about. Nicki hated Cardi. Nicki and Cardi were at each other's throats. After Megan collabed with Cardi, this is when things went really, really south of her relationship with Nicki. Then you have kind of the back and forth through the music where Megan releases Hiss, which is an amazing song.
Well, before Hiss, important to mention, you gotta remember Red Ruby the Sleeves. Nicki Minaj was dissing her, calling her
Yeah,
horse,
I will protect Meg
Tory Lane
with my
Hiss is a response to at least 2 years of Nicki Minaj talking shit about Meg Thee Stallion every chance she got.
And like Hiss is significantly more subtle than I think what Nicki had been doing to Megan. But after Hiss, that's when Nicki releases the AI generated monstrosity.
Megan Thee Stallion said, these hoes don't be mad at Megan, these hoes mad at Megan's law.
Do you want to explain what Megan's law is?
Megan's law is the law that requires sex offenders to be registered. And as you know, Nicki Minaj's husband is not only a sex offender, he was also recently convicted for not registering as a sex offender when he moved to California. And Nicki Minaj, married to a man under said jurisdiction as a registered sex offender, was shot to the chest, personally offended, upset, and crashed the fuck out on Twitter for like, I don't even know how long it was. It was 40 days and 40 nights. She was crashing the fuck out, just like she always does.
Let your haters be your waiters at your table of success.
I think this is an important point too, because everybody always feels the need whenever anyone criticizes Nicki Minaj, anybody, you could be the biggest Nicki Minaj hater, and everybody feels the need to give her flowers. Like, oh, you know, Nicki is talented, Nicki is this, Nicki was da 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 da. But let's start to talk about the fall off completely, because it hasn't just been a fall off of mental stability or principle or anything like that. Did you hear that bullshit diss track? The music ain't been it either, chief. So not only is it moral bankruptcy, but it's also garbage, because I'll bop to some moral bankruptcy if it's a banger. All right, a banger it was not.
Megan Thee Stallion just recently won a defamation lawsuit against a blogger named Milagro Grams, who had been going after her, who tweeted AI-generated like deepfakes of Megan Thee Stallion. Milagro was a Nicki Minaj stan. Like, Milagro was a barb. So not only is Nicki attacking Megan in this way, but she has her fandom getting involved in it too. You see the way in which like the behavior that Nicki is engaging in is both like enabled and echoed by this fan base that she has developed, that she has egged on and encouraged to do this like antisocial harassment.
So fast forward one more year, November 2025, just last month, Nicki shared a White House TikTok touting Trump's achievements, including, quote, no men in women's sports and City Safer, which was just a reference to the deployment of the National Guard. And then Nicki applauds Trump for his outspokenness in the supposed Christian genocide that is supposedly taking place in Nigeria. She took a screenshot of Donald Trump's Truth Social post about the Christian persecution in Nigeria, and she tweeted, Reading this made me feel a deep sense of gratitude. We live in a country where we can freely worship God. And she goes on. And then, and this was all in the span of a few days, accepted an invitation to speak at the United Nations on behalf of the Trump administration about the importance of fighting Christian persecution in Nigeria. Now, I was really shocked by this happening and by how little
Sean, thank you for the prime.
It was discussed at the time. And I also didn't totally know how to talk about it because I, up until this point, was not really privy to Nigerian religious extremist paramilitary violence. Like, that's just not something I knew that much about, so I didn't want to like speak out of turn. But Ole, I know you know a lot about this. So can you explain to people what this is all about?
Remember, this is when Nicki responded by yelling at queer fans who were mad at her and said, imagine hearing that Christians are being murdered and making it about you being gay. I just have to say, that is a hilarious ass line. If only it weren't Nicki Minaj. Imagine here, like the seriousness though, the reason it's funny is because she said that with complete and total sincerity. Imagine hearing that Christians are being murdered and making it about you being gay. This is that's in the Bible. Yeah, there's some scripture in there somewhere. Pontius Pilate yelling at some gays who were oh wait, no, Pontius Pilate was bad. Pontius Pilate led the crucifixion. Okay, this is like Mary Magdalene. This is like Mary Magdalene weeping over Jesus, and there's like a gay pride parade happening. Imagine hearing that Christians are being murdered and making it about you being gay.
I will say I would not qualify myself as somebody who knows a lot about it, but I do have the basic understanding that everybody could and should have on the issue. So it is longtime conservative propaganda, conservative evangelical propaganda that they've been doing, where they've been saying that there is a genocide happening to Christians in Nigeria. That is not true. Let me tell you what's happening. There is violence happening in Nigeria. There is extremism happening. Christians are dying, but they're not dying for being Christian, and they are not the majority of who's dying or the targets or being targeted for being Christian. Boko Haram is a terrorist extremist group that actually mostly targets Muslims because they are like fundamentalist Muslims who want like the strictest version of Islam to be in practice. And so they target like specifically Muslims that they feel like are open or sympathetic to Western this or anything. You're too soft for them. So mostly who they're going after are Muslims. That's who the majority of the victims are.
How is it that when Muslims are the victims of genocide, of mass violence, how does this always somehow turn into Christian persecution?
But conservatives and have been positioning and intentionally propagandizing it as Christians are being genocided because they know that, one, they are playing on the fact that conservatives and Americans care more about Christians than anybody else. And that is, I want to say that is a fundamental, like, important thing that has to be recognized. The outright implication that those lives don't matter at all. They're Muslims who are being killed in droves, and that doesn't matter. Nicki Minaj, Donald Trump, what they're saying is, we will defend Christians. We will defend Christian lives.
White conservative Christians are the most oppressed people in this country. The reason that they have a persecution complex is because they are so thoroughly persecuted.
It doesn't matter all these other lives lost. But regardless, it doesn't matter about any of that at all. All this is Trump and the Republicans trying to manufacture consent for people to support them invading Nigeria. You hear them saying we're going to go in there guns a-blazing. And that in and of itself is unfortunate, that even if it was
Sean
what
and
they're trying to pretend it to be, the idea that would just automatically give America authority, unilateral authority to invade Nigeria, invade Africa, and kill who they want in and of itself. And I think that's important because you don't hear anybody saying that. I have not heard anybody recognize that even if it was what Nicki Minaj and them were saying, that would not give the United States government justification to think they could go into Nigeria guns a-blazing. But that is what Nicki Minaj is applauding. That's what she is suggesting, and that's not what's happening. And that is just another excuse for them to go in Africa, not only because Nigeria is a huge country with some of the biggest oil gas reserves in the world, but on top of that, having a foothold in Nigeria would mean for their power in the rest of the region. So this is just a power grab that would actually end up with people dead. So I say Nicki Minaj is full of shit. She's a fascist. She's a fascist propagandist. And I think this is worse than anything she's ever done, because so far, the things that Nicki's done, Nicki has caused real and material harm. The things like what her husband has done, what she's alleged to have done and harassing his victim and all of that. Nicki has harmed people in the industry or women dealing with her. But what Nicki's doing now goes way beyond us having moral objections to it or not seeing ourselves in her or wishing she didn't act like that or anything like that. What she's doing now is quite literally potentially endangering countless people. She is helping a fascist white supremacist regime justify being able to go and murder African people under whatever justification. So that to me is like, you gotta hang Nicki Minaj up. There should be no more defenses of Nicki Minaj in 2026.
Thank you so much for explaining that so succinctly. Also because like when I saw that, I'm like, I don't really understand this, but it's like if there's, religious persecution, violent religious persecution anywhere, it's like as a progressive person, you want to stand against that. But also like the concept of Trump and Trump's administration spearheading an overseas, human rights issue when they are conducting a genocide in Gaza, when they refuse to recognize the Armenian genocide. It's like, I'm like, something has to be fishy here because this is an administration known best for how little they care about human rights abuses. So that makes a lot more sense. One of her gay fans on Twitter replied to all of this activity at the time and said, Nicki, as a diehard fan who genuinely sticks beside you through every single scandal, you cozying up to this fucking loser, meaning Trump, I might actually have to tap out. Your gay fans are so disappointed, et cetera, et cetera. And then Nicki replies,
imagine hearing...
I'm also just like, if you're still hanging on at this point, you gotta jump ship. Okay. We are so past the point of
Christians
return.
Are being murdered and making it about you being gay. When my home was swatted multiple times with my innocent toddler inside, with maybe 20 officers with guns drawn pointed at our home due to political corruption, you being gay couldn't save me. Crazy. She just said, imagine hearing that Christians are being murdered and making it about you being gay, but somebody telling you about what their experience of being gay
can't save Nicki Minaj from being swatted.
This cuts directly to the actual...
You know what? I say the same thing. All y'all in here who are gay, that didn't stop me from being swatted.
Issue going on here. Because you have to wonder, right? Like I have wondered so many times over the last 2 months, why has Nicki Minaj suddenly just got so interested in right-wing politics? Could it be that she's actually just taken on like a genuine interest and fervor for right-wing politics? Maybe, but she gives away the game a little bit when she seamlessly goes from, apparently I care about Christian persecution in Nigeria, but also I want to talk about the political corruption that led officers to SWAT my mansion in California. Okay, now we're getting to what's actually going on here. So Nicki Minaj continues throughout November and December to feud with the California governor, Gavin Newsom. Remember, Nicki Minaj lives in California. Gavin Newsom went on Ezra Klein's podcast recently. He said that he would like to see trans kids in the sense that like he would like to see trans kids grow up. Listeners of this podcast know that I will be very hard pressed to go out of my way to defend Ezra Klein or Gavin Newsom, but this was a pretty innocuous statement. To which Nicki replies on Twitter, imagine being the guy running on wanting to see trans kids. Haha, not even a trans adult would run on that. Normal adults wake up and think they want to see healthy, safe, happy kids. So again, now we're doing the transphobic talking points. And I'm just wondering, what is going on here? And I'm still at this point pretty confused because I'm like, why does Nicki have it out for Gavin Newsom like this? And it goes back to that little blip that she couldn't resist tweeting out about her getting swatted. So Nicki Minaj's house has been swatted, which is basically when, for no good reason, people, strangers oftentimes, strangers on the internet, stands to call the police to come to your house.
It's become more of like a looser term, but it originates from basically like claiming that there's an active hostage situation at someone's house, like filing false reports so that a SWAT team will show up.
So Nicki's house in Hidden Hills, California has been swatted a whole number of times, including times where she was home with her then infant child. Now, this is horrible. Swatting is traumatic. I've read so many stories from celebrities and child stars who have been swatted, and it seems truly terrible. But this seems like the product of deranged stans more than like corruption from the California government. And it seems like she's pinning...
Does she think Gavin Newsom is like sending the SWAT team to her house? Gavin is sending in the SWAT.
The trauma of being swatted on Gavin Newsom and the fact that like he didn't do anything to stop it.
I think she is pinning who didn't do favors for her.
It's partially the fault of overzealous police state. Now, don't get me wrong. In my own swatting experience, it was absolutely absurd. It was absolutely absurd how many resources were used even after my brother tried to talk to the police and say my sister and her boyfriend are live right now. She did not murder him. You can see he's live. Like, none of that mattered. They still, they still broke down my grandma's door, cost me thousands of dollars that the city never paid back. So I was out of pocket $5,000, and then stormed into my apartment. And this isn't something I talk about openly, but now I am. But I was so mad. Once I was over the initial terror, I was furious at the ridiculous amount of resources that were used on this, and that nothing would have stopped it. Like, it was so, I go, really? This is, I'm talking helicopters, fire trucks, multiple, 10 plus squad cars, just absurd. However, I am not Nicki Minaj, who's going, oh, this was Gavin Newsom directly responsible for sending the SWAT to my house.
I think that's ultimately all that we are seeing. Is it's very clear. We've seen, based on her nut-ass tweets, how her nut-ass tweets were taken seriously by the U.S. government, by the Trinidadian government. She is somebody who expects government officials, people, to stop what they're doing and give her problems air. And it's clear that with Nicki Minaj, they don't ever tell us the whole picture, but it's clear that whatever situations and problems she finds herself in, with her legal and financial troubles she's having with her house, with her husband facing more trouble, with him not being able to do this, she feels like the Gavin Newsom is not overextending himself to help her in the way that we see these Republican officials doing it. That's it, and that's all. That's all it's about. She has a politic. She has a grievance politic, and she has that in every
grievance
capacity.
Politics.
And I think it's okay to process shit in your own time. It's okay to want to be mad about something, want to operate in your own, but it's an entirely different thing from making that your flagship cause and agenda. You know what I mean? Something that you come into the internet with. And I don't think people of the Barbs have ever asked of Nicki that she do anything more but not make it so that she's not indefensible. And I think that's where she is now, because her entitlement is that she thinks the fucking governor of California should be checking for her. Ultimately, that's what it boils down to, is no matter what it is you were going through, a normal fucking person doesn't think you know who should stop what they're doing right now and check on me? The governor.
Yes. There's also
also the thing is, I can in the instances that I have been harassed in this way, I can pretty much trace where it originated from. And it is because of things I've said on my stream and other content creators targeting me. And they have communities that there are plenty of people who have that attitude that, that's surely the correct course of action here is to harass this person utilizing the resources of the state. Yeah. Isn't that event why you pledged to join the LAPD at 10K subs? Yes, I was so grateful. I was so grateful that they did not kill my dog, that they did not kill me, and that they did not kill Will, who allegedly I had murdered. I was so grateful. I was like, only one thing to do here. Got to join the LAPD.
Kind of a level of paranoia and delusion to the way that she's drifting that to me indicates that she's just really lost the plot. And there could be multiple factors causing that. But regardless, she's drawing all of these connections in things that don't necessarily connect to each other. She's somehow able to take the Trump administration's propaganda around Nigeria and connect that to I'm being swatted online. And anyone who's of right mind is not going to connect.
Hey, Cap, stop killing dogs. That was the first thing that Will said to them. He was like, please do not shoot my dog. Please. He is well aware of how many dogs that the cops kill every single year. And that was the first thing that he said when they brought him out to handcuff both of us, which I was also like, hello, isn't this allegedly the boyfriend that I have murdered? This was it was so absurd. It was so absurd.
There is a deeper issue also here at this point that she's reached.
Totally. And another local grievance political issue that I think is contributing to this anger towards Gavin Newsom, which has become anger towards Democrats in general, which has led her into the hands of the right, is that Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty, her husband, were sued by a former security guard who
Yeah, I
says that
mentioned
Kenneth
this,
assaulted him
and
backstage
now she might
in
have to
2019. They were ordered to
forced
pay
sale
the
of her
guard
house.
$500,000 and never did. So now, currently, a California judge is threatening to force the sale of her $20 million home so they can pay that guard. And I think this is another
Hey, y'all new here. What I miss, lols. We are all joining the Barbs.
situation where she's like,
They've got
Gavin
some
Newsom,
openings.
why aren't you doing anything about this? And when you are online and you are a public figure who starts tweeting about how Gavin Newsom is doing X, Y, and Z wrong, the people who will start cheering you on immediately
are
very online
Barbs.
Republicans. And you start following them and you start seeing what they're posting that lands well. And nothing lands better with a lot of these very online right-wingers than transphobia. And here you have this woman through like petty grievances with the California government, but like not even. She's just decided to assign the blame there. We have her being fed into the hands of the right, where she very quickly, like in a matter of like days, ascends the ranks and shows up at America Fest.
Because it's the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing you can do is align with power and grift to the right. There's literally nothing easier. And it's not a hard role to play. You just get up and say all the bullshit that you know they want to hear. You shit on your people. If tomorrow you woke up and said, fuck the gays, come right here, Matt. Like, you know what I mean?
I've thought about this so many times. Oh, I've thought about this so many times. If I got on this podcast and I got on Instagram and I said, everything that I've said for the last 7 years, I realized was wrong.
That's what
and
I
the left
said.
is intolerant. They're pressuring me to say things that I don't believe in. And I'm so afraid that if I say the wrong thing, that they're just going to cast me out. And I'm tired of feeling
That's how
like
easy it
beholden
is.
to the dogma. I wonder how fast Turning Point USA would have me on that
They
street.
eat that shit.
Not to have a big head about it.
Especially Matt as a gay man, me as an Asian woman. Oh, easy. Are you kidding? They want their tokens.
But like, it's so compelling. They love
it.
The like, I tried to be liberal, but they made it impossible.
That is their big thing. They would fucking.
They would even let him. They would let him keep his eyeshadow as long as he was saying that trans people don't deserve rights.
To realizing that conservatives were right all along, and look at what she has built for herself.
AKA Jeffree
and the
Star
right has also developed this pipeline where they can take advantage of whether it is a malicious, like fully sane decision to go down that path, or whether they're like preying on someone who's in a state of like delusional paranoia, or whether it's a combination of both. They have perfected this pipeline. And like you can see how fast they're able to execute on that and get these people up on a stage where the audience has no discernment of what is happening in front of them.
Nicki Minaj was a featured speaker at America Fest within like weeks of her actually openly embracing the Trump administration. Like they have that shit on lock.
The only value that they have for marginalized people is to be validation piece for them to point to and say, see,
maybe
that black person said that anti-black, they said it's okay. That gay person said it. That immigrant said it. That's all you're there for. It's a very easy role to play. They will always.
Maybe she can be the talent at the MAGA halftime show.
Come. They don't like Nicki Minaj. They don't give a fuck about Nicki Minaj. They didn't listen to fucking Super Bass, but they see an opportunity. That's all it is. They see it and they're like, oh, great. A black superstar, black rap superstar ready to shill for us. Beautiful. Let's invite her in. All she needs is a little bit of ego stroking. And that's it. Because that's all she wants out of it. And that's what I said. It's clear in all her responses all the time. She likes power and she wants to see who is willing to give her a breadcrumb. That's why she goes, oh, Mitt Romney, oh, Obama said something nice to me. Okay, Obama, thank you, Obama, babe. You know what I mean? Oh, Trump, oh, you saying something funny, you saying whatever. All of a sudden, that's all it's about. If Gavin Newsom had said fuck Cardi B and her new album was trash, Nicki Minaj would be here campaigning for him right now.
It's such a shallow way to engage with politics because it's not even engaging with politics. It's just engaging with like ego. And it's such, to me, it's like an abuse of power and of influence.
Yeah, it's a politic of grievance. Your politics are moved based on what your grievance is. And her grievance is about her. And so her politics are about her. Unfortunately, it harms more than just her. And that's the issue.
I want to play just 2 selected clips from this America Fest appearance she made with Erica Kirk, who just watching these 2 women try to interact with each other, having zero shared lived experience is so funny.
It was so awkward. They didn't have nothing to say. Her was just like, I love her. Yeah, I know what you mean. People be trying to judge me too.
Why do you think speaking your mind has become so controversial?
Because people no longer are using their minds, their brains. So right now, just imagine.
Wow.
We're not allowed to have a different opinion anymore. We're not allowed to think out loud anymore. We're not, this is not what the world used to feel like.
Yeah, you're certainly not when that thinking is stupid. But also, let's be fucking for real. Yes, you can. However, people will call you a dumbass.
And especially for the young people, I don't want them growing up in a world where they feel like that. I mean, they deserve for their voices to be heard. They have valid feelings and they're thinking about things, and it deserves attention. You know, we should listen to what they're saying.
One thing I will
So, young people, Nicki Minaj is saying she wants you to be heard when you are telling her to go fuck herself. Gen Zers out there, Nicki Minaj wants to give you the microphone to tell her to go fuck herself.
About the right-wing grift. And one of my least favorite things about it that I've lamented on this podcast many times is that it takes even the most skilled, even if you hate someone like Nicki Minaj, Jeffree Star, these are people who at their height, like they were so interesting. Whether you like them or not, they were so interesting. And it makes these people so boring. You are just doing what you can't even have an opinion anymore. You're just doing like old man yelling at cloud. You sound like Bill Maher.
Yes.
She just has nothing to say. They've gone over that with her. Like, these are questions, this is how to answer it. And she's just trying her best to remember a little bit of what they said, like try to recall it and make it sound natural. She doesn't even believe the shit that's coming out of her mouth. She's just saying whatever. And I think that's just as bad as believing it.
And she can't even recite it either. And I love that they clap regardless when she goes, people no longer use their minds.
That's exactly my auntie when she's drunk is just like that. Why do you think like people have a problem with people speaking their minds? It's so funny because it's a leading question. Like, Erica's already like trying to feed her the answer, like in the question, because it's clear she's struggling to remember the script. And still all she came up with was because they're not using their minds.
And the whole audience still goes crazy for it because all they need is like the vague contours of like cancel culture. It's just buzzwords or things approximating buzzwords are enough.
They like the idea that they think we're upset. And so every time she says something, they're like, it's like pumped that into my veins and they think people are angry right now. That's the reason why when people are leaving Twitter, they want it to go on blue sky. They need to be, they're not comfortable enough to believe what they want. They want attention. It's like when you see them post the videos and they put on the MAGA hats and they're like looking for someone around to say something. Like, it's not enough for them to just be there and enjoy their racist bullshit. No, that's the whole thing about oppression. It needs someone to suffer. In their mind, they don't give a fuck about Nicki Minaj. What they like is in their mind, they're going, oh, I know those fucking woke liberals I know they're fucking mad now.
Cry more.
Like, they're telling themselves all kind of bullshit that we're like,
cry more, commie.
That's why they're excited. That's what they're really applauding. Like, yeah.
100%. They don't realize that like most people do not care.
The concept of me crying because Nicki Minaj is gasp MAGA. Fork found in kitchen.
About or like put stock into what Nicki Minaj says at this point. And also like it is so wild that they are doing this victim mentality as they control like all three branches of government in the United States.
There's also a moment in this conversation where
I'm
Erica
shocked,
Kirk is like,
I tell
do you have
you.
any advice for boys? And Nicki Minaj, she's like, well,
I didn't drop to my knees at the Walmart.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but I did.
For boys.
I did in the
boys.
Target.
Amen. Be boys. It's okay. Be boys. It's nothing wrong with being a boy.
Wow.
How about that? Amen.
How about that, bars?
How powerful is that? How profound is that? Amen. Boys will be boys, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, the one mag. Yeah. I love you.
That's what I want to say.
And you can tell it's like she's
I love you, Nini Mirage. Like they don't even know her name.
Trying to vaguely adhere to the transphobic talking point, but she doesn't really know it. And she's just trying to say whatever she needs to say for the crowd to go wild, because that's really, I think, what she wants out of this. You know, there's this theory that is going around that Nicki Minaj's rightward shift is an attempt to get Trump to pardon her husband. I don't fully buy into that. First of all, the president can't pardon state level convictions. And legal scholar, Matt Bernstein.
You're correct.
But Kenneth Petty's attempted rape conviction is a state conviction. So there's nothing Trump can do about that. To me, I think her shift can be more explained, and this is my thesis, through a psychological lens of wanting to be loved without fear of criticism than any strategic or legal lens. Like on the professional side, I think this is someone whose career has stagnated, whose art has regressed, who identified so closely with the early title of being the only female rapper that she couldn't handle having peers. And so she did what so many entertainers in mid-career crises do, which is a pivot to the hard right. Which is
also, it could be that Nicki has paid attention to people like Candace Owens and other Kid Rock, other right-wing superstars and is like, that could be me. Oh, this is my path forward. Like, I can do that. I can be that. So yes, I do think it's her responding in this really narcissistic way, being tired of criticism, that she's just sick of the haters. Man, I want to live in a country where you're free to speak your mind, where you're free to think. But I think she also, she smells the opportunity. She does.
Demographics so hungry.
She's aligning herself with power. And the reality is the right is in power. The right has a ton of power.
Mainstream celebrity support that they will adore anything she says or does. And there's nothing Nicki loves more than adoration. And then on the personal side, this is someone who cannot receive criticism ever and whose inner circle is chock full of people who have committed rape, child rape. She was tired of getting flack for that. So she goes to the place where nobody holds anyone accountable for anything, least of all pedophilia, the American right. Right-wingers will never question her support for her husband or her brother or her harassment of their victims, because then they'd have to question their own support for the president who has done all of these things, which is the one thing they're never allowed to do. So she's created a world for herself where she can forever be adored and unchallenged. And the only thing she had to pay for it was her reputation.
The thing is, as all tokens learn, is that's not true. That's just that's the dream they sell you, but it's not true. You're only useful insofar as you're beneficial, and you're only beneficial as when you're parroting their talking points. The very moment, and each and every time you do anything else, anything autonomous, the minute you want to actually speak as you, not just repeat their talking points, they're fucking done with you, and they're done with you now because they haven't bought in. They're not gonna go support your shit. They're not gonna be who buys your music. They're not gonna be who keeps you popular. The fucking conservatives there are not trying to dress like Nicki. You're not gonna be their influencer. You're not gonna be any of that. You're just a fucking talking piece, a token. And just like Herman Cain and Ben Carson and all of them before them, your Omarosa and Stacey Dash and every fucking body else that has pipped themselves out has learned they will have no use for you, and then they will discard you. And you'll be left begging for the same communities that you turned your back on to embrace you. And we won't, because the music ain't it no more, Chief.
I think the sad thing is, she may get a momentary boost from this new audience, but it's not actually going to work out in the long run. This is kind of it for her. This is her grand finale.
And what a way to go out. I have a teeny tiny...
And look, maybe Nicki, with all of her posturing and all of her ego and her, claiming she's still the queen of rap, she sees herself as a 41-year-old woman, just released Pink Friday 2, which was her first album in 5 years. And it was supposed to be a reset. But the truth is that album is a poor imitation of the first. Yeah, she released Pink Friday 2. When did that come out? Pink Friday 2. Pink Friday 2 was released, not just released, sorry. It was December of 2023. That, when I say just released, I meant more so that was 2 years ago. Oh, how time flies. Oh my God. 2016 was 10 years ago. Oh, Jesus. But anyway, and I think Pink Friday 2 showed what's missing from her art now. That she doesn't have she ain't got it like she used to. And so she's looking ahead to her next opportunity, looking at it as the truth is she's not the queen of rap anymore. The truth is that there are a lot more successful and growing in success as well, Black female artists, rappers, than there were when she was coming up. And it's driven her crazy. Like, we've seen that drive her crazy.
Epilogue, which is that a video started circulating after this whole America Fest fiasco with Nicki Minaj of Charlie Kirk at one of his college debate events saying that Nicki Minaj is a bad role model.
Right now, Black culture is being held captive by influences, songs, and role models. I mean, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on a second. I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old Black girls. I don't.
Now, this is just so entirely predictable, but what makes it really funny to me
the diss track, the Megan diss track was this year.
After Charlie Kirk's death,
right?
Shared texts that she had exchanged with Charlie, where the two of them were queening out about Nicki's verse on Monster. I'm looking at these texts right now. Charlie sends Candace a screenshot of him listening to Monster. He says, yeah, first things first, I eat your brains with 5 S's.
He was a barb.
He goes, when Nicki drops,
he was a barb behind the scenes.
Yes, it gets the blood flowing. I'm about to run a few miles jamming to it. And
dude, I'm not going to lie. These text messages look like when you're in, I don't know, like a Lifetime film and you see a close-up of a text exchange and you go, nobody talks that way. When Nicki drops, I lose my mind. She is the best. I do my weights to that song. Jay-Z's verse is amazing too. Makes me think of where I'm at. Yes, it gets the blood flowing. These feel fake. You're like, oh my God, people do talk like that.
Yes, it gets the blood flowing. I'm about to run a few miles jamming to it. And I just love this interaction so much because you know what? It's grifters all the way down. Charlie has no real opinion
CW.
or worries about whether or not Nicki Minaj is a good role model.
Yes, those texts are real. They are real.
And for whatever it's worth, like I think Charlie would be so proud of what Nicki is doing
Bobby,
right now.
What's
Not
up?
because she's, espousing conservative ideals, but because she is grifting off of them. That's my conclusion.
We done?
I usually land on some sort of like joke or something, but this is...
I feel like that was a great final word.
Kat and Olay, this was treacherous. Thank you so much for coming on the journey with me.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, this is fun.
I am happy for you, Olay, because you've been like a self-identified Nicki hater for a long time, and it's also so hard to feel good about any of this. But it's like, it does feel like the blinders have been taken off.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? We love to see it. We love to see it. It's about time it be a safe space for Nicki Minaj haters.
No, Monster is a bop.
If this terrible year could bring us one good thing, it's the fall of the Barbs.
Yes,
legitimately.
Like the Barbs are a terrorist organization that we needed to put a stop to.
They are.
Where can people find more from each of you?
You can subscribe to me at Illuminati. That's my main channel on YouTube, as well as that's my social media handle on Instagram and TikTok and all places. But on YouTube, Illuminati, I also have Illuminati Pop and Illuminati Bites, which has a great video about Nicki Minaj's foolishness with respect to her propaganda about Nigeria and the Trump administration. And I have Olay and Chill. I have Olay and Friends. So subscribe to any of my channels in the Illuminati verse.
And then I'm at spitfirenews.com, and you can also find me at Kat Timbard on Blue Sky and Instagram.
And I am at Bernstein, and you can find me at A Bit Fruity, the podcast you just listened to. Oh wait, hee hee ha ha. No, I'm gonna kill that. That was stupid.
No, I like it.
And I'm Caroline Kwan, and you can find me right here.
I am so appreciative that you chose to listen to this episode with us today. It's weird fucking times, but I hope that we can make sense of it together. And go stream Hiss by Megan Thee Stallion. I love you so much. And until next time, stay fruity.
Stay fruity, y'all.